Hello and welcome to Provoking Tech. I'm Zach, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a walkthrough on how to use Parsec streaming software with LiquidSky hardware. So this might seem a little silly at first because LiquidSky has their own software option with their streaming service. However, there are several use cases on why I think you would want to use Parsec streaming software over LiquidSky hardware. Just comparing the software between the two very quickly. I don't want to get too deep into this. I'll probably do that in a future video, kind of comparing all the different features of the Parsec software versus the LiquidSky software. But Parsec overall has been a more fluid, less buggy experience for streaming games. On the kind of core technology and like the latency, they both feel very good, but Parsec just has been a better overall experience and being able to jump straight into the games without any issues with mouse detection or anything along those lines. On top of that, Parsec has some very cool, unique features that kind of set them above others in the field, especially LiquidSky, in terms of what their software can do other than just stream your gameplay video to your computer, which isn't a small achievement by no means, but Parsec has some very cool features such as the ability to share your computer with a friend, and also kind of building upon that technology, actually connect multiple people to a single computer and play split-screen games or play games that kind of have a shared, gameplay environment that you all walk around in. There's a lot of games like that. That used to be more of a console thing, but consoles have kind of faded away and became more single-user experiences, whereas PCs are starting to become kind of what consoles used to be, and with games that support split screen or kind of the shared window with multiple people being able to play games. And of course, you have emulators to play those old classic games that you'd love. You can just load that up into a cloud machine and have everybody join and share that experience back like you used to be sitting on a couch, but you could be doing it with your friends from different sides of the country. So it's very cool, unique features that Parsec has that other streaming services do not have. And those are just kind of some of the kind of top level, biggest things that stand out to me, features of why I would use Parsec with LiquidSky hardware. And there are other options that Parsec is compatible with in the cloud gaming arena, such as Paperspace and AWS, but Paperspace right now is limited to just the US. There is talk about them getting a data center in Europe in the future, but Paperspace has very good price to performance ratio, and Paperspace and LiquidSky in terms of hardware have been neck to neck in a lot of different games, with Paperspace winning in some cases and LiquidSky winning in others. So with that in mind, if you're outside of the US though, you really only have access to some of the bigger guys, such as Amazon's AWS, and those are very expensive in the price to performance arena because they're more general purpose machines kind of built for machine learning or things along those lines, where they're built with a ton of RAM as well as your very powerful GPU. So you're kind of overpaying for features that you're not going to need when your focus is cloud gaming, and that's why kind of services that are kind of building cloud gaming machines or cloud desktops or cloud workstations in the cloud, which is what Paperspace is trying to do, are a better bet. But because Paperspace is only US currently, then LiquidSky, because they're based upon IBM data centers, have locations in more places throughout the world. So you can use LiquidSky hardware with Paperspace software and kind of get the best of both worlds, in my opinion. So without further delay, let's go ahead and jump straight to the video and kind of this walkthrough tutorial. It's fairly simple, but there are a couple bugs that'll kind of help you walk through and getting Parsec to work with LiquidSky hardware, and then you'll have a very solid experience from then forward. So let's go ahead and jump right to the tutorial. I've launched up my LiquidSky PC, and I've opened up Chrome and navigated to parsec.tv. Then on the homepage, you'll see a big button that says download and start playing. Or if they update their homepage in the near future, you can also navigate to the download page from the download now button at the top. Once you click on that, you'll be brought to the download page, and of course we're going to download the Windows version for 64-bit. And then just as a note, you do need Windows 8.1 as a server, but LiquidSky runs on Windows Server 2016, which is essentially the server environment for Windows 10, so we're definitely good there. Click on the download link. You can go ahead and minimize Chrome now, and click Run and agree to the agreements. We do want to enable controller support. I just recommend doing that because you never know in the future if you're going to want that. You can install that later on, but I just recommend installing that right from the bat, just so you have it there. They do recommend disabling UAC prompts because at this point in time, the Parsec client cannot interact with the UAC prompts. But once you have everything installed, then you're fine to just go ahead and just use Parsec normally. So I'm just going to go ahead and click no, and then you'll be done. If you do want to do that, just click on that, and that'll kind of walk you through that process. So now it'll bring up the Parsec client. Just go ahead and enter your username or your email and your password and save that and hit the secure login, and then we'll rejoin after this break. All right, so after entering your username and password and clicking login, you'll be brought to this screen, and now it's going to ask if you want to allow connections to this computer. Since we're trying to set the LiquidSky computer up as a server, definitely click yes, and go ahead and double check both private and public networks. I don't know what they have their network set up as, but go ahead and choose both of them and click allow access on the Windows firewall for your LiquidSky server. So in host, you should now see that you are accepting connections, but it still says there's no controller support, even though we clicked that. So go ahead and click here to download the controller drivers. Click on the 64-bit drivers and click run. And we can go ahead and minimize Chrome again. And it'll install the drivers for the controllers. It'll ask you to click yes to install the drivers themselves, and then Parsec will need to restart to finish this installation. So go ahead and close Parsec. So just a quick note, if you just close this window here and reopen it, you'll still have the driver message. That's because you didn't fully close down Parsec. Go down to your taskbar and you should see an icon just like this blue icon up here, but it'll be gray. Right click on that and hit quit Parsec, and that'll fully close down Parsec. I know I have that covered up with my but it's fairly simple. Just find the gray icon like that in your taskbar. You might have to hit that little arrow and then just right click on it and hit quit. That'll actually fully close the Parsec application because it runs in the background to allow remote connections. And then when you open it after completely closing it and quitting it, you should no longer see the driver message, and all you should say is you are accepting connections, and you have the option to turn off hosting. So that's pretty much it for this. We can now jump to the local Parsec client and try to connect to our just set up server client. All right, so I had a couple problems when I loaded into Parsec, and those two issues were due to timeout and a mouse issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and run through the timeout issue. So this issue revolves around the fact that the timeout for LiquidSky starts the moment you close your LiquidSky client, so you can load in from Parsec. The reason for that, or you can get to this setting by clicking on the purple icon, clicking on the gear icon, and clicking your default timeout. So if your default timeout was 20 minutes, the moment you close the LiquidSky app so you can launch the Parsec app, a 20-minute timer will start. Even though you're in the middle of a game, it'll just shut down the computer at the 20-minute mark. This is because they use their app itself to detect whether you're active, not actually trying to detect activity on the computer, such as the ability, like if you're playing a game or using a software to do a render or something along those lines. So you're going to want to change to none. Now this does cause the issue of if you forget to shut down your computer, then you will it will run until you run out of credit. So that is a kind of big downside there. So just remember to always shut down your computer if you're going to be using Parsec with the LiquidSky hardware. The easiest way, of course, you'll be in the LiquidSky mode, you'll be in the Parsec client, not of course the LiquidSky, but just shut down your computer as you normally would by clicking on the Windows icon, click on the power button, and click shut down. Now, of course, if you had closed Parsec and forgot, the quickest way is going to be, instead of loading back into Parsec, is just going to be loading your LiquidSky app, and it'll load you on the home page, and your computer will show that it's online. You'll see a little green icon up here. So just click this turn off button and close it down. So if you do forget, just quickly load back into the LiquidSky client and just click this big turn off button here, and it'll make sure that your machine is shut down. And it might be best to err on the side of caution and just go ahead and load it back this client back up. Or when you back off, you could always go back to this screen and just leave this up in the background or something, and then load into Parsec. And then when you're done, you'll have this, and then it'll show red if it did shut down successfully or something happened and the shutdown didn't go through. That for some reason you still have the option to turn it off, and that's probably the best bet there. Now I'm going to return back to the LiquidSky client and go through the second option, or the second issue. And shout out to Aaron, one of my subscribers, who actually found the fix for this. And what we have to do is click on the File Explorer icon, and you're going to go into your local C drive, click on Windows. You'll see a folder under here inside of Windows called LiquidSky. Click on that and click on the Sky, and it's going to be a CFG file. Click on that, and if it asks you for what to open it with, go ahead and open this with Notepad. I've already done this, so it automatically opened with Notepad because I wanted to test this fix, of course, before I went through it. But by default, the show cursor is going to be equal to 0. Change that to 1, and that'll make your life so much easier. Otherwise, you have an invisible mouse inside of Parsec, and that is very, very annoying. Trying to interact with Windows without a mouse, because all you'll be able to see is like when the icons over here like light up. When you're in the empty space, you're not gonna have any idea where your mouse actually is, so it's super hard to navigate. So definitely go ahead and make that so it's visible. I'm not sure why LiquidSky has to handle this so weird. Why they have to have it set to an invisible mouse, and they have their gamer mouse, going. I don't know exactly why they do that weird, and I think whatever they're doing, that's why you have issues in like games like PUBG when their mouse fails to load for some reason. So one way or another, just set that to 1, and then you should have a decent experience in Parsec. So I'm just going to go ahead and minimize that or get that out of full screen mode again. So if you want to go ahead and leave this client open, what I recommend doing is just clicking on your LiquidSky window, clicking the home button, hit go home. Do not turn it off, and now your computer will be on, so you can now access it from Parsec. If you do want to go ahead and close this window, which you can do, just when you hit the X button, make sure you hit no when it asks if it wants to shut down your computer. This will leave the Sky computer on, even though you actually don't have the LiquidSky client open at all. So that fixes the issues that I had, and now I'm going to go into Parsec and just kind of demonstrate that real quick, and then I'm going to do a little bit of testing to actually verify that this works in a couple different games, and then I'll come back with my conclusion after I have done all that. All right, so just real quick, I wanted to show you what you should see on your Parsec client on your local computer. You should see inside your connect menu, you should see a computer to connect to with the host name as Sky Computer and with the option to connect. If you don't see that, just hit this refresh button and just see if it pops up. And if for some reason it's not there, just go back into your LiquidSky client and make sure that the Parsec service is running, but you shouldn't have any issues with that. I've shut down and restarted my LiquidSky computer multiple times, and it's always automatically started, so you shouldn't have any issues from there. So go ahead and click connect, and then you'll be on your LiquidSky computer, but running with streaming with the Parsec app. So that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. You should see some PUBG footage in the back. It was a great experience. It was very responsive, no mouse issues whatsoever. But the quality is pretty low because I had to turn the graphical settings way down. That's because I was silly and I left it in gamer mode. I always on the gamer tier for the hardware. I always use gamer tier when I'm installing games or doing demonstrations with settings and things like that, simply because it consumes half the number of credits that the Pro tier does. But it's very limited. You only get 3 threads for CPU computing and only 2 gigabytes of VRAM. So for any demanding game out there, most AAA games out there, I highly recommend staying away from the gamer tier and just playing on the Pro tier, but it is still good for less demanding games. I have played Overwatch on the gamer tier fine. Overwatch isn't too graphically demanding. Rocket League plays fine on gamer tier, but for most games, you're probably going to be playing on the Pro tier, and I was just silly and forgot to switch over to the Pro tier when I was playing PUBG. So all in all, the general experience was good. I just want more graphical power. So in reality, I'd be playing on the Pro tier. All in all, very good experience though. Highly recommend using Parsec with LiquidSky hardware rather than using LiquidSky software for the streaming side. Parsec is just a better overall experience. So on that note, I think that's all for this video, guys. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave those in the comments below. Smash that like button, and also if you're not already an existing subscriber, also smash that subscribe button too. Greatly appreciate all the existing subscribers I already have out there. And once again, that's it for today's video. So until next time, Zach out.